Okay, I'm not mad at this one.
I want some rest. Are we having fun yet?
All right, guys. So this is going to be a quick video, but apparently our San Antonio Spurs have picked up Isaiah Roby, $1.9 million salary. This is not bad whatsoever. We still have $35.6 million left. I'm just going to assume that the San Antonio Spurs are sitting and waiting what happens with the whole Kevin Durant situation and trying to see if we can get our hands in that cookie jar just a little bit. But other than that, yeah, so we're just kind of holding off on that. More than likely the Spurs aren't looking to sign anybody big. It's probably more so just going to be, hey, we'll take on some bad contracts, just give us a few picks. But with that being said, Isaiah Roby. So we'll look at some statistics. There's not a lot on him because I'm going to be honest, he hasn't played a ton, but he did kind of show what he's capable of this past season, and we'll talk about that. But if we're talking about his rookie season, didn't play at all. Second season in the league, he played quite a bit, but not great. Not a great showing, to be honest with you. Field goal percentage, pretty decent, 48%, but then that 3-point percentage, that's no bueno, okay? You looking like my boy Sohan right here. So that's not good. And then free throw percentage, that's fine. That kind of showed that you do have somewhat of shooting upside there. And then moving on, 5.6 rebounds, 1.8 assists, 0.6 blocks, 0.9 steals, and then as we can see, 8.7 points per game. Now this previous season, this is the one that a lot of people are saying, hey, why isn't he on this roster? He actually played pretty well. He only had 21 minutes per game, but he made the most of it. 51% field goal percentage, 44% 3-point percentage, shooting nearly 2 3-pointers a game. That's pretty doggone good. Free throw percentage went down a little bit, but he was getting to the line a little bit more. And then as we can see, rebounding went down just a tad, assists just a tad. It's about the same. It doesn't really matter. And then blocks and steals went up 0.8. So it seems as if he can do just about a little bit of everything. As far as from what OKC fans were saying, and I was just trying to look at what their consensus of this guy was, a lot of people say he was basically the second best defender on their roster. So I'm gonna take their word for it. I'll be honest, I don't watch a lot of OKC games. I'm gonna get a little bit better with that. But with that being said, apparently he is a pretty good defender. And I went back just to see what was the main consensus of him before even getting into the NBA. And apparently initially, he was one of those players that was capable of guarding 1 through 5 at the collegiate level. And that kind of fits the same mold as our boy Sohan. Now, they're not the same player at all, at least from what I've seen. But at the same time, that's a pretty promising, at least before entering the NBA, that's a very promising thing there. And he is not a bad defender by any means. When you're averaging basically a steal and a block per game on 21 minutes of play, that means you're making some type of impact. Moving on. Now, as far as character, I have to say, this alone has kind of made me sit back and say, oh, this seems like a good kid. So they let him go. He didn't have any animosity whatsoever, and this is what he sent out. Thank you, Oklahoma City, for the opportunity to grow over the last 3 seasons. Great organization, people, and fans. And even Josh Giddey came in and he said, my boy, Spurs got a good one. That's pretty cool. And then he said, all love, bro. So he has no hatred in his heart. He seems like a good kid. So hopefully we're getting a good one. Now, as far as how he fits for San Antonio, I personally think that he's just more so just going to be kind of a backup forward. Okay, I'm not expecting him to come in and be a starter or anything. I more so see him as the same mold that we wanted Trey Lyles to be in, where he'll be more so a backup and someone who's reliable, who we can pass it out to for 3. Now Trey Lyles wasn't the best at times, and I know that he had a few issues with the San Antonio Spurs, but it seems like Isaiah Roby doesn't necessarily have a huge ego on him, and he just seems like an overall good kid. And then I also looked at just some game logs just to see if there was any games that stood out. And points, he had a game versus Portland, and I did go back and watch the highlights of it. It was pretty nice. I'm not gonna lie to you. And it was a W. And this was back in March, at the end of March, in which he had 30 points. So he had a 30-point game, 26, 21, 21, 18, 18, 17, 17, 16, 16. And keep in mind, he only played like 45 games during this past season. So he definitely showed glimpses of being pretty doggone good. And even in that game where he shot 30, or he had 30 points, his 3-point percentage was 80%. And then the 26-point game, 80%. So he has some showings where it seems as if he can get hot and he can let it fly from 3. So we'll just wait and see. But as it stands right now, I don't think he's necessarily somebody that we have to worry about as far as like the future. Does he fit? He'll be perfectly fine. And he is a youngin, born in 98. So actually, hold on, I did not look this up. I'm pretty sure he's 23. Just before we end this video off, just to Roby age, he is 24. Okay, so he's 24. So not quite in the timeline, but like I said, he's more so a guy that's just going to be a backup anyway, so it's not that big a deal. But look, I like it, and honestly, with what just happened where we had to kind of get rid of Jock Landale, which I'm perfectly fine with because of the picks that we got out of it, but I'm pretty sure that was part of it. Like, look, you throw in Jock Landale and we'll make this thing work. So we had to get rid of him, but at the same time, I'm pretty sure the San Antonio Spurs felt as if he was more expandable, and you can get other players that aren't, you know, necessarily him to fit the mold that we put him in anyway. We need a stretch big. We can find that's a lot of specialties. Like when you have a specialty in a certain specific thing, you can kind of find those players. But when it's something as broad as, oh, he's a dynamic scorer, that's kind of hard to find. If it's somebody who's an all-around great player, that's sometimes hard to find. But a guy like this, yeah, you can kind of find them around the league. And I think the Spurs did a good job of picking him up. So we'll see. Seems personality-wise he'll fit. Seems like he fits what we kind of need right now, especially like I said in a previous video, Collins, you don't know. You don't know. So yeah, so I like it. It's good. I'm cool with it. We'll get to know him a little bit more with the Spurs, but as it stands right now, I'm all with it. So I'll get with you guys later, man. If you want to support the channel, only $2 per month. Patreon, YouTube links below. Until next time, deuces.